Well, I think India sets out certain parameters the United States has to agree to meet to deepen our defense cooperation, and part of that is sharing sensitive technology. But this is a delicate dance. U.S. companies, of course, control most of that technology, not the Department of Defense. So finding ways where U.S. companies would be willing to part to some extent with sensitive intellectual property on defense equipment in a way that builds their own standing, while at the same time not giving away the crown jewels. It's very delicate, but it is good to see that the two governments created a roadmap. It's not the first time they tried to jumpstart defense cooperation, but the Modi government has actually done a lot of work to try to allow the private sector a bigger hand. So hopefully that dynamic entrepreneurial spirit we've seen in the technology industry and other areas can apply as well. And maybe some of the Indian companies that have grown recently would be better recipients of intellectual property and do better work with U.S. companies in the future.
India's confirmed Prime Minister Modi's attendance at the China-hosted BRICS summit, so he's clearly being pulled in very different strategic directions, Richard. Is this as simple as India picking sides, and how much of a dilemma does this make?
No dilemma at all. When you think about where India's real security interests lie, we have complete agreement that China is the threat that we both have to confront. There's some question between the United States and India over which theater is most important. From India's vantage point, of course, the border regions where they actually have a hot war. I mean, they're the only member of the Quad that actually, has engaged in fighting with China in recent years. And so for India, they think of the border area, they think of the Indian Ocean. To most American security analysts, you think of the South China Sea, the Taiwan Strait, the East China Sea, and even Pacific Islands. So, but overall, we both agree that China is the threat. We need to work together to collaborate, find out areas and opportunities. BRICS, India will still continue to dance that show, but the meaning behind it is far less than it was a decade plus when they first created it.
India has so far remained neutral in its response to Putin's war in Ukraine. Do you think that Secretary Austin will have any luck in trying to nudge India towards being less neutral?
I don't know that there'll be a lot of luck there. This will rely completely on India's domestic intentions. Up until recently, Russia was the only major country willing to part with advanced military technology. Even just a decade ago, the United States wasn't willing to engage in that level of conversation. So, sometimes we chalk this up to a Cold War relic, but actually, Russia has been there even quite recently as the only one willing to supply advanced military technology. So today, India's air power, their tanks, their ships, most of that is Russian made and requires Russian spares and Russian equipment. So it's going to be some time, I think, before India would be ready to take a harder stance on Russia's invasion, simply because they need to keep the pipeline open for spares. Again, getting back to the point that they're actually in a hot fight with China, which nobody else really in the world is right now. So they can't afford a series of where they have to refurbish and rebuild on their own. They need to keep spares coming in and new equipment, and Russia's been a key supplier.
Hi, I'm Emily Tan, and thanks for watching CNBC. You can check out more of our videos by clicking on the boxes on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks for watching.